Member for Carleton.
Thank you. Well, Madam Speaker, it's only about 42 more sleeps until this Prime Minister is scheduled to keep his promise and show us how the budget will balance itself. Because 2019 is soon upon us, and in the Liberal election platform, we were told that the budget would be balanced in that year. Remember those modest temporary deficits? No more than $10 billion, no more than 3 years. Back to balance by the end of the term, he said, and we were all to be comforted by this commitment. In fact, I think if you go to the Liberal Party website today, you will still find that election platform where that commitment remains. Unfortunately, no one at Liberal Party headquarters has talked to anyone over at Finance Canada. Their officials report, though the Finance Minister refuses to confirm, that the budget will not be balanced until the year 2045, a quarter century later than the Liberal Party says it will. So the Liberal Party says next year, Finance Canada says in 25 years. Who to believe, Mr. Speaker? Madam Speaker, we are here today to find out. I have put forward a motion with the strong support of Her Majesty's loyal opposition. Inviting, thank you very much. Feel free to interrupt my remarks with your applause at any time. I will be conservative in my remarks as long as you are Liberal in your applause. Madam Speaker, unfortunately, this Liberal government has been too liberal with our money. Government spending has grown at a rate of about 7% a year, even though economic growth has only been around 2.5%. Combined rate of inflation and population growth has been less than 3%. In other words, we are growing the government more than twice as fast as we need and twice as fast as we can afford. Now, last year, and in the years before, this Prime Minister inherited great fortune. Now, that was nothing new to him. Of course, he inherited a multi-million-dollar trust fund, and he's never had to worry about money. Luckily for him, more good fortune fell from the sky in the year 2017. In that year, the U.S. economy and the world economy were roaring. Commodity prices were up. Booming housing markets roared along in Vancouver and Toronto and elsewhere, and of course, interest rates are at near record lows. And all of this good fortune, which is out of the government's control, but to the government's benefit, generated a windfall of $20 billion last year, according to the government's own records. And I'm pleased to report that our Prime Minister did the responsible thing. He saved it all away for a rainy day. He put it aside in the great Canadian tradition and prepared us for difficult times ahead. Kidding? Not quite. In fact, he blew every single penny. And when he was done blowing every penny of the windfall, that increased revenue that he enjoyed, he then continued his spending splurge and borrowed $20 billion more, meaning his deficit in that fiscal year was about twice what he promised it would be. This year, if you believe Finance Canada, the deficit is 3 times what the Liberal platform promised. And next year, of course, there was supposed to be no deficit at all. Soon, in fact, just 2 days from now, the Finance Minister will introduce his fall economic update. And he will tell us, we hope, the size of the deficit, and when this miraculous self-balancing budget will manifest itself. And we are just simply we put forward a very nonpartisan motion that anyone should be able to support, that the government simply reveal the year in which the budget will be balanced. We're not even contesting the extraordinary bonanza of spending, the massive debts and higher taxes the government has imposed on Canadians. We know that that will be a central debate of the next election, but we're putting all of that aside. And we're simply asking for the government to give us the year. In what year will the budget be balanced? Now, the fact that we even have to put this in a motion is rather startling, because past governments have always projected the year in which budgets would be balanced. They project many years out how big the surpluses will be and what the size of the debt will be in given years down the road. This government has changed that practice and has stopped including a medium and long-term fiscal forecast in its budgets and its fall updates. And that means that Canadians are left guessing as to when it is their government will stop adding debt in their name. Now, if Finance Canada documents can be believed, and this 25 years of deficits will go ahead, that will add nearly $500 billion of new debt to this country. Now, it's always difficult to appreciate the urgency of tackling debt. Sometimes people think it's a theoretical problem, far away from home. But in reality, it is quite simple. Deficits today mean massive tax hikes tomorrow, because the bankers and the bondholders that lent us that money expect to have a rate of return. It would be completely unrealistic to expect they would just donate that money out of the kindness of their hearts, or park it with the Canadian government in the hopes of getting it back at the same value. No, these bankers and bondholders want to collect increasing interest at increasing rates, and that is exactly what is happening. According to the Parliamentary Budget Officer, by the year 2023, the Government of Canada will be spending nearly $40 billion on interest on the national debt. $40 billion is a two-thirds increase over last year, and it means we will be spending more on interest on our national debt than we currently spend on health care transfers to our provinces. Now, this is money that working-class taxpayers will have to fork over to wealthy bankers and bondholders, people with money, because only people with money can lend government money and earn the resulting interest. Now, these working-class families will contribute that tax money, and they will get nothing in return for it. They will simply have the comfort of knowing that some affluent lender somewhere on Bay Street or Wall Street or in Hong Kong or some other world financial capital is reaping in a windfall because the government could not control its own spending. That represents, by the way, a wealth transfer from the working class to the super rich. Another example of this government's continual efforts to take from those with the least to give to those with the most, to take from the have-nots and give to the have-yachts. Now, Madam Speaker, there are three major consequences to these spiraling deficits. In the short run, deficits put upward pressure on inflation and interest rates. In other words, they raise the prices Canadians must pay for the goods and services they use. And because the government is competing with homeowners for borrowed money, the amount that lenders can charge to lend that money actually goes up. So our homeowners have to pay higher interest rates in addition to higher costs because the government is competing with them for credit. The second consequence is that because higher debt today means higher taxes tomorrow, Canadians will feel the crunch of higher interest rates on their household debt at the same time as they are experiencing it on their tax bill. As interest rates go up for the government, they will be going up for households who are facing record debt of their own. And so this government, on its current trajectory, will have to raise taxes on the very people who are struggling most to make ends meet in order to pay interest on an out-of-control and unnecessarily large debt. And third, the increased debt and deficits render us vulnerable for the bad times. Now, there will be bad times again. We know this because history repeats itself. That's why, in the early Conservative government, we paid off about $30 billion of debt, which helped prepare Canada to have a solid financial footing when the U.S. financial system came crashing down. And in that once-in-a-generation, maybe once-in-a-century financial crisis, Canada was the last to go into deficit and into recession, and the first to come out of both among all of its G7 peers. During the good times, we prepared, we stored away, we built our foundation so that when the storm struck, we were able to resist its ravages. But this Prime Minister has done precisely the opposite. He has blown all of our good fortune in the good times. When everything was going in his favor, when all the luck was on his side, he squandered it, every last penny. And so when the next crisis comes, unless we change course, this Prime Minister will lead us into it with an unprecedented degree of weakness and lack of readiness. So that is the third consequence of having unnecessarily large debt and deficits in the good times. Madame la Présidente, le Premier ministre nous a dit que le budget allait s'équilibrer de lui-même. Il a dit qu'il pouvait dépenser sans contrôle et que le budget allait trouver une façon de payer pour tous ces coûts par magique. Il a promis que cet équilibre budgétaire allait arriver en 2019. Ça, c'est à peu près 40 jours. On est ici, comme l'opposition officielle, afin de demander au gouvernement de livrer le date où le budget sera équilibré. On aura un énoncé économique dans 2 jours. C'est normal, quand un gouvernement présente ce genre d'énoncé, de prédire le date d'un équilibre budgétaire et de dire aux Canadiens combien d'endettement il prévoit ajouter entre-temps. Alors, c'est une motion non partisane. Nous faisons même pas un débat sur le contenu de la politique gouvernementale. Nous ne disons pas que le gouvernement est mauvais ou bon. On dit simplement que le gouvernement devrait être transparent et nous partager le date. Parce que sans information, on ne peut pas avoir le débat. Et si le gouvernement n'a rien à cacher, il devrait avoir aucun problème en partageant cette information, ce renseignement. Madame la Présidente, le déficit actuel a 3 conséquences principales. Premièrement, les déficits gouvernementaux augmentent l'inflation et les taux d'intérêt pour les consommateurs. Ça augmente le coût de la vie présente pour des travailleurs, des familles, les gens vivant en banlieue. Deuxièmement, nous allons devoir payer davantage pour l'intérêt sur notre dette nationale. Dans 4 années, on va devoir payer 40 milliards de dollars selon le directeur parlementaire du budget. Ça, c'est une augmentation de 2/3 dans le coût d'intérêt que nous devons payer. C'est plus d'argent pour des banquiers et des autres gens bien nantis. Plus d'argent pour eux autres, mais ça veut dire plus de taxes pour monsieur et madame tout le monde, sans des programmes et des services en retour. Cette augmentation de taux d'intérêt et de la grandeur d'endettement représente un transfert de richesse des travailleurs et des gens de la classe moyenne aux gens bien nantis. On ne devrait pas avoir un gouvernement qui transfère la richesse des pauvres aux riches, mais c'est exactement ce qui arrive quand les gouvernements ont trop de dettes. Et troisièmement, il va y avoir des crises à l'avenir. On ne sait pas où. On ne sait pas d'où ça va provenir, mais on sait que les crises reviennent des fois. C'est la raison pour laquelle les gouvernements responsables, libéraux et conservateurs dans le passé, ont décidé de rembourser la dette pendant les bonnes années pour pouvoir renforcer notre fondation fiscale et nous préparer pour des difficultés à l'avenir. L'ancien gouvernement conservateur a remboursé 30 milliards de dollars avant la crise financière de 2008, qui est arrivée des États-Unis. Donc, nous étions dans une situation d'arriver en récession et en déficit après tous les autres pays et de revenir avant tous les autres pays dans le G7. Maintenant, nous avons comme pays un énorme déficit avant même que cette crise n'arrive. Dans une situation où toute la chance était en faveur du premier ministre, les taux d'intérêt très bas, la croissance économique spectaculaire aux États-Unis et partout au monde, des marchés immobiliers très forts à Vancouver et à Toronto, et une augmentation dans des prix des différents biens que possède le Canada. Tous ces facteurs sont hors du contrôle du gouvernement, mais le premier ministre en a bénéficié. Mais la bonne chance, la grande fortune qu'il a reçue, sans ses propres mérites ou efforts, ne seront pas là pour toujours. Mais c'est la raison pour laquelle sa décision de nous mettre dans un grand déficit dans ces bonnes années était tellement irresponsable. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle nous revendiquons que le gouvernement révèle la date où on reviendra à un budget équilibré. So, Madam Speaker, we on this side of the House stand for fiscal responsibility, to prepare Canada for a rainy day, to stop the outrageous transfer of wealth from the working class and the poor to the super rich in the form of interest on debt, and to stop the government from raising the cost of living on everyday Canadians who are already facing a cost of living crunch. The first step, though, is for them to tell the truth. To resolve any problem, you have to admit that there is a problem. And the first admission of that problem is by telling us the date. Is it really going to be 2045 when the government returns to a balanced budget? A quarter of a century from now, and $500 billion later. By the way, I should mention the bad news. That 25 years, that $500 billion, that assumes the government does not spend another penny in the fall update or in its pre-election budget. That would expect a degree of financial discipline that this Prime Minister has not demonstrated once in his entire life. But yet we have hope. We have hope that if he comes forward with the cold, hard truth, that his budgetary plan is a mess, that he has broken his word to Canadians, that he will awaken to the need to live within our means, just like ordinary Canadians who don't have multi-million-dollar trust funds have had to do their whole lives. We ask this Prime Minister to join finally, for once in his life, in solidarity with those people, the people who pay the bills, and at least tell them what the situation is, when the budget will be balanced, and give us the truth so that we can restore the solid fiscal foundations upon which this country's economy has long been built and which he inherited. Thank you.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for King